Clayton's death in Tarzan is still considered one of the most disturbing deaths in a Disney movie because of how brutal the whole thing is. The movie doesn't actually show everything that happens to him, but even with that, the way his death plays out is incredibly dark. So in this video, let's explore why Clayton's death is still so disturbing. During the climax of the film, Clayton goes all in with his plan to capture the gorillas and make money from them, and that's where everything really starts. He was willing to take all of the gorillas and sell them, but then Tarzan showed up and completely ruined his plans. At one point, the conflict moves up into the trees, and Clayton is still armed with his rifle. Eventually though, he loses the rifle, which leaves him with no choice but to use his machete instead. Tarzan could have killed Clayton if he wanted to, but that was never what he was trying to do. All Tarzan wanted was to stop Clayton from doing what he was doing and protect the gorillas. At one point during their fight, they end up on the vines, and this is where Tarzan's experience with the jungle becomes really important. Tarzan knows exactly how to move through the jungle and how to use his surroundings, so he uses his skills and manages to get Clayton tangled up in the vines. They're extremely high up while all of this is happening, which makes the situation even more dangerous. But instead of stopping, Clayton basically starts using his machete and mindlessly slashes at the vines around him, trying to free himself. Then one of the vines wraps around his neck. Clayton keeps cutting at the vines, and when he finally cuts through them, the last vine, the one around his neck, stays in place. That causes Clayton to fall, and he accidentally hangs himself. The film of course doesn't actually show the moment in detail. We only see his silhouette hanging from the vine, which keeps the movie from showing the full brutality of what happened. But even though Disney hides most of it, the implication is still very clear, and that's what makes Clayton's death so disturbing. Disney itself has a lot of dark villain deaths that are genuinely unsettling. There's the one from Snow White, where the evil queen gets crushed by a giant boulder, and right after that, the movie shows vultures flying down to feed on her remains, which makes the whole thing even more disturbing. Then there's Scar, who is killed and devoured by the hyenas, and Hopper from A Bug's Life, who gets eaten alive by birds. There are plenty of other examples like this, especially in older Disney movies. Disney, at least during the classic era, used to portray the deaths of its villains in a surprisingly gruesome way, even if the movies didn't always show every detail directly. Nowadays though, it's much harder to see a villain die in a way like this, or even to see villains like the ones Disney used to have in those older movies. The villains themselves were often much darker. But the reason Clayton's death is considered one of the most disturbing is because of everything surrounding the moment itself. It's not just the fact that he dies. It's the way it happens. He falls from a great height, gets hanged by the vine, and the whole thing happens while it's raining, which gives the scene an incredibly dark atmosphere. And then the movie makes the choice not to show his body directly. Instead, we only see his shadow hanging from the tree. That actually makes the scene even darker because the movie leaves you to understand what happened without showing it to you. That combination of everything happening around his death, the fall, the hanging, the rain, the silhouette, and the fact that the movie never actually shows his body is exactly why Clayton's death stands out as one of Disney's darkest and most disturbing villain deaths.